Adele lost weight, she was excoriated for betrayal. To who? She betrayed the unhealthy? The woke have even turned the homeless into a political identity group, as opposed to liberals, old school liberals, who just want to get them off the street, which now is seen as kind of judgy, like, don't disturb them in their natural habitat. They're just living their best life under the bridge. The woke think the number one job is to protect homeless people from stigma. I think the number one job is to protect them from rain. Speaking of which, when I did the Ice Bucket Challenge back in 2014, I thought I was helping the cause of funding research to cure ALS. Wrong again. An op-ed in Time magazine said the Ice Bucket Challenge even seems to be suggesting that being cold, wet, and uncomfortable is preferable to fighting ALS. It was suggesting no such thing. What is wrong with this country that so many people can't be happy for anything for even a second? Ice Bucket Challenge? America is more ready for the can you shit on something good challenge, and yes, we're up.
Bill Maher's clash with the woke crowd isn't slowing down. He just called him out for criticizing charity work. Yes, charity. Maher sees this as yet another example of overreach, where even good deeds aren't safe from backlash. He's pushing back hard, challenging the extremes of ideological policing. Buckle up. This one's bold, sharp, and packed with fire.
In the season of giving, can we at least agree that giving is good? I bring this up because one of the more mind-blowing stories of this year was about the internet celebrity, Mr. Beast, and how he was always getting raked over the coals for a series of charitable endeavors. Now, if you don't know, Mr. Beast is the most successful YouTuber ever with over 38 billion views. Feel old now? Anyway, he takes some of the money made from 38 billion views and plows it back into doing things like, this year, partnering with a group of doctors to provide cataract surgery for 1,000 blind people that restored their eyesight. Cool, huh? Wrong. He filmed their overjoyed reactions, which to many made him a performative altruist. A Washington Post reporter tweeted, "What truly needs curing is society's view of disabled people." And BuzzFeed agreed, Mr. Beast seems to regard disability as something that needs to be solved. Okay, disability is something that needs to be solved.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. This is exactly why I've said the woke crowd is impossible to satisfy. They've turned double standards into a strategy. If you're wealthy and don't donate, you're labeled selfish. But if you do give, suddenly it's performative or virtue signaling. It's a no-win situation where good intentions get twisted and genuine acts are dismissed. That's exactly what fires up Bill Maher. He's tired of watching extreme critics derail meaningful efforts with unrealistic purity tests. When even charity becomes controversial, Maher doesn't hold back. He calls out the contradictions and exposes the absurdity head-on.
Truly needs curing is blindness. Here's how I know this. The newly sighted people are cheering, not booing, because Mr. Beast, whoever the fuck that is, just cured them and you didn't do shit. You know the expression, shit or go blind? You didn't either. Oh, yeah. I don't get the woke. They love nothing more than being a victim, except when they really are one, and then they tell you, I am not, go fuck yourself.
The so-called woke crowd talks a big game, but rarely takes real action. They become armchair activists, mistaking social media posts for meaningful change. They only seem to approve of charity when they're the beneficiaries, and even then, they'll go to great lengths to claim they're not seeking help while still demanding special treatment. It's a stunning display of contradiction, cloaked in self-righteous outrage. These keyboard critics have mastered the art of calling out others while contributing little themselves, aside from opinions and outrage. They expect everyone else to solve society's problems while they sit on the sidelines and complain. It's like dealing with a backseat driver who refuses to take the wheel, but never stops criticizing your every turn. Bill Maher sees right through this kind of performative activism. He doesn't just challenge it. He tears down the false narrative with clarity and precision.
Last month, Mr. Beast, in another dick move, funded the construction of 100 wells across 5 countries in Africa to provide clean drinking water to 500,000 people. Good thing, right? No. Not good, bad. The founder of a charity called Face Africa called it kind of frustrating that overnight this person comes along who happens to be a white male figure with a huge platform, and all of a sudden he gets all of the attention. Yes, but you know what else is frustrating? Dying of thirst.
Some of these NGOs and agencies have strayed far from their original missions. Instead of driving meaningful change, they've become high-budget operations that raise serious questions about transparency and impact. If Diu's findings hold true, the depth of mismanagement and inefficiency is staggering. Consider this. Why does Africa host over 1 million NGOs, yet many regions still face deep underdevelopment? It raises concerns that some of these groups have built systems that prioritize sustained funding over real solutions. The cycle of need appears maintained rather than resolved, creating a model where managing problems is more lucrative than solving them. These organizations often release polished reports, filled with statistics and carefully curated images. But behind the PR, the people they claim to serve often see little lasting change. It's a troubling dynamic, where the appearance of heroism masks a lack of real progress, and generosity from donors doesn't always reach those in need.
Mr. Beast, how dare he come in and bogart digging the wells? That's so white guy, always taking fresh water and shoving it down our throats. Oh, another thing this asshole did in Africa was pay for the rebuilding of an African orphanage, which the director of the Hope and Homes for Children charity called it a classic case of white saviorism. So true. Ask any orphan to name the worst part of their life. Show-offs! Please. Please. We should be celebrating having dead parents. Hey, it didn't hurt Batman. How did we get to this weird place? Telling people who are actually out in the world making a positive difference, you're the problem. Yeah, quick question. Who the fuck are you?
The woke crowd often targets those who genuinely want to help, turning philanthropists into villains while ignoring the real needs of the people they're trying to assist. Their instinct is to criticize, launching accusations and harsh labels at anyone who doesn't fit their rigid worldview. If some of these critics had their way, they'd tear down the charitable efforts built by people like Maher, leaving generous donors discredited and those in need without support. It's a mindset that prioritizes ideological conformity over actual impact. This pattern exposes something deeper, a willingness to reject meaningful help just to maintain a sense of moral superiority. They're so caught up in outrage that they undermine the very efforts making a difference. It's like criticizing the fire department while the neighborhood burns, offering no help, just complaints. Bill Maher sees this for what it is, a movement that tears down more than it builds. That's why he continues to challenge that hypocrisy, not to provoke, but to defend common sense against a culture that often punishes people for doing the right thing.
This isn't only the media and the people on Twitter who exist to bitch, always finding something. He just did it for the clicks, or for the wrong reason, or you should have done more, or sooner, whatever. You suck, signed X. No. No, this is also the National Institutes of Health, which last year proposed to amend their mission statement to exclude the word disability, saying it, quote, could be interpreted as perpetuating ableist beliefs that disabled people are flawed and need to be fixed. Let me take this moment to go on record. Folks, if I am ever struck blind or deaf or paralyzed, don't praise me. Fix me.
Ideological extremism has made its way into some of our institutions, affecting their ability to deliver real, effective support. especially for people with disabilities who deserve practical, compassionate solutions. These individuals face real challenges that require real answers, not symbolic gestures. Creating an environment that ignores or downplays disabilities in the name of inclusivity can have serious consequences. Instead of offering vital resources like mobility aids or access to advanced treatments, some systems focus more on messaging than action. This shift has led to a version of advocacy that prioritizes appearances over outcomes, where language is carefully curated, but real support falls through the cracks. While discussions around inclusion are important, they should never replace the urgent need for tangible help. Too often, those in need are left behind as debates over terminology overshadow the development of ramps, assistive technologies, and accessible healthcare. It's a misplaced focus that can leave vulnerable communities with fewer resources and more frustration. Bill Maher calls out this imbalance, not to dismiss inclusivity, but to remind us that real progress means delivering results, not just slogans.
Sit around talking about how much I'm just as good as you. Fix me. Do something. Use AI. Invent something. Steal body parts from a pet cemetery. Steal stem cells from a frog. Whatever it takes. Gene sequencing, robotic eyeballs, harvesting clones, inject me with hamster platelets, grow a new gallbladder from impossible meat. Just do something.
Bill Maher has reached his limit with the extremes of woke culture, and he's not alone. Millions of Americans are increasingly frustrated by what they see as a movement that stifles open dialogue and undermines foundational values. Many feel that well-intentioned people are being unfairly targeted simply for trying to help. This rising tide of ideological rigidity deserves serious scrutiny. It's time to ask tough questions and challenge ideas that replace merit with ideology and genuine compassion with divisive rhetoric. Maher believes we've moved past the stage of polite disagreement and into a moment where clear, reasoned persistence is necessary. According to him, these trends are weakening core institutions and replacing progress with performative politics. He's not just responding anymore. He's actively leading a pushback against what he sees as a culture that suppresses free thought and erodes shared values. For Maher, it's no longer about appeasing every demand. It's about defending reason, common sense, and the principles that support a fair and functional society.
If I catch on fire, you also have my absolute permission to piss on my ass. You know, there's so much faking this time of year between the presents you don't want to buy and the presents you didn't want to get and the goodwill toward men that lasts until January 2nd. I just don't have room for, and disability is awesome. It's not awesome. And it's not a political affiliation. That's the problem. We turn everything into a political identity category. You're deaf. That's your identity. Don't mess up a good thing by hearing.
And which political party has leaned most heavily into identity politics? According to Bill Maher's ongoing commentary, it's clearly the Democrats, even if he doesn't name them outright in this particular video. For anyone who's followed his views over the past decade, his focus on the Democratic Party's ideological shift is unmistakable. Maher sees this transformation as not only divisive but politically damaging. He points to one of the party's most significant election defeats as a direct result of this strategy. Instead of reflecting and course-correcting after that loss, Maher believes they've doubled down, sticking with tactics that have pushed away many moderate and working-class voters. Rather than focusing on practical governance, the party has, in his view, become increasingly centered on symbolic issues that don't resonate with everyday Americans. The emphasis on identity over unity and messaging over results has created a growing disconnect. Maher warns that the party has drifted from its roots, once the voice of working people, now often more aligned with cultural critics and activists. He's not holding back because, as he sees it, staying silent while his own party alienates voters and weakens its own base would be a disservice to the very ideals it once stood for.
Adele lost weight. She was excoriated for betrayal. To who? She betrayed the unhealthy? The woke have even turned the homeless into a political identity group, as opposed to liberals, old school liberals, who just want to get them off the street, which now is seen as kind of judgy, like, don't disturb them in their natural habitat.